Yes, I am so happy right now. Um, my Texas Rangers have been playing good baseball. I get to use them when we get to that segment. I get to use them as my top five teams of the week. Um, but anyway, let's get right into the other stuff beforehand. Uh, Hi, what's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. This is Thursday Full Count, and I am here with Greg Galliano. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, but maybe not as happy as you are. I know you're excited. Good baseball. Texas Rangers, they haven't exactly gone together like hand and glove, but yeah, things are looking good. So I'm excited for you.
Oh yeah, 7-3 in the last 10 games. We are the only um the Boston Red Sox have only lost one away game. That's not against Texas. Wow, wow. Um, but let's get right into our original stuff. And every week we do this. We start off with this segment called Baseball Jeopardy. Basically, I don't know what the questions are. I don't know what the questions are until it's basically pulled like a random randomizer kind of thing. Um, the max the max number on this is 15. If we get up to that 15 and there are not three strikes, then we're going to end it. However, if there are um, if if we do get three strikes before the the 15 questions, then we're going to end it right there as well. So, first up, the first question of Baseball Jeopardy. Greg, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, and it is loading. Who were the two teams located in New York before moving to the West Coast? A. Dodgers versus Giants. I mean, Dodgers and Giants. B. Angels and Dodgers. C. Athletics and Giants.
That would be the Dodgers and the Giants.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I haven't clicked on it yet, but I already know that's the right answer. Yep, home run. So, which team had the most number of World Series championships in the 1970s? I'll give you one hint. This team, before read off the choices, have won three: Oakland Athletics, Cincinnati Reds, or the New York Yankees.
The Cincinnati Reds.
All right. Yeah, I think they have been pretty dominant. Let's see. Ooh. Sorry, correct answer is Oakland Athletics. That is one strike.
Oh man, I know that the Reds picked up a couple in the '70s too.
Yeah. Um, Twins Fest is the largest annual fundraiser for A, which it's not reading the full answer. That's weird. It's not reading the full answer. Twins Territory Community, Detroit Tigers Community, or Minnesota Twins Community.
Minnesota Twins community.
Correct. All right. So, which Orioles pitcher led rookies with 15 wins in 2002 and finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting? George Julio, Sidney Ponson, and Rodrigo Lopez.
I'm going to say Sidney Ponson.
I had a feeling you were going to go with that answer. Incorrect. The actual answer is Rodrigo Lopez. Lopez pitched 33 games and had an ERA of 3.57 that year. That is now 2 outs. Now we have hit, let's see, that's 5 questions. 5 questions. So, who was the Indians' first 30-game winner? Len Barker, Jim Baggy, or Johnny Allen?
I'm going to go with John Baggy.
And home run. In 2004, the Twins won the AL Central Division. Which pitcher won the most games for them in the season? Irvin Santana, Joan Santana, or Eric Moulton?
I think it was Johan Santana.
Correct. The runs keep coming. Which Mariners pitcher was known as the Man? Mike Zunino, Dave Val, or Dan Wilson?
Dan the Man Wilson, I think.
All right. Which position did the Pirates manager Derek Shelton play when he was signed to a non-drafted free agent by the New York Yankees in 1992? Third base, catcher, or pitcher?
I think it was catcher.
Hold on, I'm counting something real quick. 4, 5, 6. That's the 7, and you said catcher, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Another run. This is now question number 8. Wrigley Field was originally known as what? Wrigley Field, Weigman Park, or Polo Grounds?
Okay, can you name the second one again?
I'm probably mispronouncing this, but it's Weeman Park, Weeghman Park.
I'm thinking it's that one.
Another one. Now, question number 9. Which Mets player had a 6-hit game in 2016? Yoenis Cespedes, Wilmer Flores, or Michael Conforto?
I'm thinking it was I want to say it was Michael Conforto.
And sorry, that is now third strike. But keep in mind that we scored 7 runs, so it's been 10 questions. All right. Now we're going to go on to this next segment. A segment that I'm really, really, really excited about. Well, actually, it's really more of the next segment than this one, but it does, however, involve this segment as well. The Texans, well, actually, let's do a quick recap of today. Start things off. The Brewers lost to the Phillies today, 2-0. Um, what were your thoughts on this game? What do you expect? As actually the Phillies are currently on top of their division. What do you expect coming from that division in the future? Do you think it's going to land really, really tight like that?
With the Phillies division.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when before the season first started, I thought it was going to be an extremely tight race. I thought that the Braves and the Mets were going to be the two teams to beat. I kind of had the Phillies kind of in the middle to maybe the fourth. I even thought that the Nationals were going to play pretty tough because they do have a very solid pitching staff on paper. But yeah, right now it's still pretty tight. The Braves are starting to play better baseball. The Mets aren't playing as good as I had expected them to play out of the gate, with all the moves that they made this offseason and all the spending that they made. And the Braves definitely kind of fell flat at the very start of the season, even with that excellent pitching staff that they have out there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty tight race. And the Phillies, they're playing great baseball. They're getting some great defensive help out in the outfield. Bryce Harper just had a really awesome outfield assist the other day. So they're starting to show some signs of life out there in Philly too. So I think it's going to be a pretty tight race. It's a pretty competitive race. Um, and the Marlins, I know that they're not expected to do a whole lot, but they have some phenoms on the mound. So they have some really good prospects on the mound. They got some very young, lively arms. So I think this is going to be a very interesting race. I still think that in my heart that the Mets are probably the best team, at least on paper. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
right now they're sitting at number two. They're sitting a few games behind.
Yeah. So I think this is going to come down probably to the last week and a half of the season. Yeah, it's going to be one of those races.
Next up is right now currently not by ranking, um, but by how they've been doing out of this last week. They're the second best team in the AL West right now. The Astros they beat the Yankees today 7-4. Um, Now, do you think the Astros they're coming back with the losing streak that they had? This is definitely way better than that. Um, what did you like about this game?
Um, you know, I think that an interesting thing whenever you see the Astros, when they're hitting the road, they're getting a lot of boos and stuff. Something that they were very much protected from last season in the shortened season with very limited fans, if any fans at all. So it's really exciting to see, fans in the stands kind of booing them for what went on a few seasons ago with their banging on the trash can uh, trash can gate or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
during the World Series. Rob Manfred pretty much wants to go woke on everything, but he's still willing to let them have World Series rings. So he's kind of a disciplinarian and in many ways on other things. I don't think he came down as hard as I thought that he should have on the trash can gate or Oscar the Grouch gate or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's pretty exciting that the Astros are playing pretty good baseball. And I think what I like about this game and other games that the Astros are in is that they have to overcome a lot when they're playing. They can't just go out there. They're competing against the other team, but they're also competing against the audience because they're getting heckled and booed, and there's possibility that they may get retaliated against, by getting beaned with pitches and stuff for their involvement in the trash can sign stealing thing that went on. So it's interesting because the Astros really have to have thick skin every time they go out there. So they're not playing as bad as I thought they would, considering all the harassment that they're getting everywhere they seem to go. What do you think, Nate?
I'm not gonna lie. Early prediction, I have them being a 500 ball club. Somewhere around there. With the Angels winning the division, Athletics being number 2. Early prediction, I had Astros being in 500 ball club. The Mariners not doing well, but shortly losing more games than that, and then Rangers dead last. But right now, predictions have changed. I still feel the same way about the Houston Astros. I still think that they're going to be a 500 ball club, but I feel the same way about the Rangers as well. So the next game, is actually the Detroit Tigers. We were talking about them actually on Tuesday. The Tuesday poll account with me and Ray, and somebody made a bold prediction, a very, very bold prediction. And he says that the Detroit Tigers are not going to even get 20 wins this year. I mean, Greg, what are your opinions on that?
Well, I think you missed my opinion on that because I said that with AJ Hinch managing the team, that they're at least going to get.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You did.
Yeah, they're at least going to get 50 wins if Rob Manfred allows them to have trash cans in the dugout. Because remember, he was right in the middle of that trash can gate thing when they won the World Series a few seasons ago. So, yeah, the Tigers, I mean, yeah, they're going to be, in the bottom probably 2 or 3 teams in all baseball this year. That's just how it is. I mean, they've got some excellent kids within their farm system coming up with Casey Mize, Spencer Torkelson, but then do you really want to bring them up early and get them exposed earlier than you had planned just because the team's starting to tank? So I'm sure that they would like the big league experience, but I don't know. I think that they would be better served if they would just go with what they have right now and give Casey Mize, Spencer Torkelson, some of these top prospects a chance to thrive in the minors and get some more experience before they get thrown into the fire. So I feel bad for the Tigers because they have a long ways to go. They have they have a couple really good players still. Miggy Cabrera can still hit the ball. He's on pace to hit his 500th home run this year. So it could happen. I'm not quite sure if it will this year or not, but that's an interesting thing to keep note of when you got a player chasing 500 on one of the worst teams in all of baseball that we've seen over the past couple seasons. So the bold prediction of not winning 21 games, I think that's a little absurd. I think that even with as bad as they are, I still think they're going to win 50 games. And all joking aside about banging trash cans and what, I still think that they'll win at least 45 to 50 games.
Yeah, I do too. Somewhere around there. I do think that the Detroit Tigers are going to be one of the worst teams this year. Teams that I can see underneath Detroit probably be Pittsburgh. I could argue Baltimore as well. Colorado. I hate to say that, but Colorado.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
yeah, Colorado, Pittsburgh. Detroit, they're definitely teams that are waiting for the draft and to see what they have to spend at the end of the year. Um, so yeah, they're definitely going to rely on some top rookies, in the next few years to try to get them by.
So the next game, the game that I'm really, really excited about because, well, several reasons. One, we're still undefeated in extra innings. We have now won 3 games in extra innings. That are away games, and then 1 game at home. That's an away game. Um, we beat the Minnesota Twins today 4-3. And when we get to that segment, spoiler alert, I am putting the Texas Rangers on my top 5 teams of this last week.
And rightfully you should. 7-3 in the last 10 games. They're getting excellent pitching, outstanding defense. I mean, you have a right to be happy, by all means. I'm pretty happy about my favorite team too. Actually, putting together a pretty good week and a half.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we started off early. We started off hitting a home run. And yeah, I get it that they put we're up in the lead. Well, actually, no, they tied it. They tied it to being a 1-1 game, and then we put another run up on the board. No, hold on, okay. So, excuse me, Minnesota scored first. And they made it so it's a 1-0 game. Then Texas scored again to make it 2-1. Minnesota scored again to make it 3-2. Texas scored in the 7th and in the 10th. However, that being said, even though we won and we won in extra innings and then we're undefeated in the extra innings, even I don't like the extra innings rule.
No, I hate the extra innings rule. I'm a baseball traditionalist. I think that the only way that you should be on base is if you actually earn it, with a walk or hit by pitch or something like that. I don't like the whole let's put a guy on second base and see if we can get a run in with a base hit. I don't believe in just putting somebody out there without standing at the plate. So that's one rule that I wish would definitely go away.
Now, what I have learned though, which is where I disagree with some people, what I have learned is that it doesn't favor one team over another. I don't agree with that. Really, because even though with this extra inning rule, an away team can score, and then a home team can score that same run, and then even though away team scored 1 run and the home team scores another run, it would move on and going into the 11th inning. So I don't agree with it because I don't like it, and I don't agree with it because I think it is kind of stupid that the only way I agree the only way that you I would like it if you make it on the second base is if you earn that base, not freely given.
Yeah, I really like the traditional baseball. You either earn it or you don't. I don't believe in, putting somebody out there at second base just to try to speed up the game or cut down the innings or cut down the pitching moves and pitching changes and all that. I really like the strategy that goes into extra inning ball games. So,
So up next after the Texas Rangers and Minnesota Twins game, the New York Mets, they won today, beating the Cardinals, your team, the Cardinals, 4-1. Now, since you're a Cardinals fan, Why don't you go first?
What was that, Nate?
Since you're a Cardinals fan and they lost today, why don't you go first on that? What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, my Cardinals have been kind of off and on all season long. I mean, this is the most consistent baseball that they played over the last 10 games, 7-3, getting some big runs and everything. They just couldn't put anything into play really much today. They got off to a slow start. Um, just weren't getting very good at bats and everything. But I mean, overall though, over the last 10 games, I'm very pleased. 7-3, because not too long ago they were almost last in their division, and now they're sitting up top. Going 7-3. I know that the Central Division in the National League isn't that tough this year, and you're going to see mostly losing records. In the probably bottom three of that league, with the Cubs not playing very well, with the Pirates not playing very well, and with the Cincinnati Reds being incredibly unpredictable. Are they going to put up 12 runs or are they going to put up 1 run? It's just going to be one of those years. So, yeah, it was a tough game. The Mets played well. They pitched well. They got the runs when they needed it, and we just couldn't capitalize. And so it stinks to lose a game like that, but we're still 7-3 over the last 10. So I got to be happy with the overall results for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, as you should. They've been doing really, really well. Really, really great baseball. But moving on, and talking actually some same, not same division. Well, actually, no, it's not the same division. Cleveland Indians, they won today. They beat the Kansas City Royals 4-0. Um, Now, I have a question that we kind of talked about this on the other baseball show earlier today. But do you think that the no hitter record will be broken this year? Not by a pitcher, but the most no hitters in a single season.
I really do. We're on a record pace. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on. Gary Sheffield alluded to this not too long ago, that he's seeing so many strikeouts, a lot more strikeouts, and just people not being able to put the ball in play than he's ever seen before. And we know that when past superstars and past players like to come and diss on today's generation, we don't like to see that. But I think he has a point to something here. We're kind of seeing an all or nothing mentality, at plate appearances with players. I don't know if they're all swinging for the fences or what, but a lot of them, their mechanics seem to be leaving a little bit to be desired at times. And so I don't know. I don't want to say that the pitching is this dominant, or if the overall hitting has just decreased by a substantial level. But yeah, I think that we're going to see several more no hitters this year. I mean, we've already got three so far this year, and
We're at
one
full.
could have been a perfect game. Had it not been for a pass ball, that got the run base, who was later thrown out trying to steal. So we could have easily had a perfect game there. So yeah, I think that this year we're going to see a lot more strikeouts, and I do think that we're going to see several more no hitters. I think this is the year that, yeah, I don't know if it's elite pitching or what, but I definitely feel like there's a bunch more no hitters on the way.
I'm looking at it. So at the current record, we're actually at 4, and we just finished the month of May. Like you said, but the current record actually happened back in the late 1800s, and that record was 8. So we can break it. I think we might. I know Chaz didn't agree with that, but I think we.
Yeah, and way back then when they had 8 no hitters, it wasn't like most pitchers weren't throwing uh, 94 to 99 mile an hour. They didn't have 5 pitches in their arsenal. Back in the day, most of these guys were throwing probably in the mid 80s or so. They might have had a curveball or something. Um, or if that guy that invented the curveball taught him anything. But yeah, they didn't have. I don't think they had like a big sinker and a cutter and all this stuff going on. So with all the new pitching developments and stuff, I think that we're gonna see. I think we're gonna probably hit 10 no hitters this year. That's my prediction.
So oh wow, that's pretty bold going at 10 no hitters. I'm looking at it right now. The year 2021. As soon as I scroll down real quick. You're right, actually. We have hit 3 Baltimore Orioles over the Seattle Mariners, Chicago White Sox over the Cleveland Indians, San Diego Padres over the Texas Rangers, and Arizona Diamondbacks over the Atlanta Braves. No, I'm just kidding. Which is actually the current record with their current record. Looking at it, is like 1890. Yeah, 1898. I think. Yeah, 1898. Um. So
What's interesting about no hitters, Nate, is when you look back at all the no hitters and perfect games and stuff thrown over the years, I would say a majority of these no hitters have been collected by pitchers that weren't elite pitchers, but they had a very elite performance or they had excellent defensive help along the way too in these games. I mean, I know that Nolan Ryan was an outstanding pitcher, one of the greatest all time, the strikeout leader, and he had 7 no hitters in his lifetime. But a lot of these no hitters that we're seeing right now are from guys that we probably never even heard of or didn't really pay much attention to. And that's a really cool thing about baseball is you don't have to be all the no hitters. Roger Clemens never threw a no hitter. There's a lot of elite pitchers that never threw no hitters, but then there's a lot of pitchers that finished their career below 500 that might have pitched a couple no hitters. It's just one of those interesting things in baseball.
I call it. It's not 1898. It's actually 1884, where there was 8 no hitters. Moving on to the next game, Athletics. They lost today. They lost today 10-4 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Which was, you know, personally, my opinion, I used to really like high scoring games, but now getting to know more knowledge about the sport, this goes with NBA, MLB, and NHL. I used to really like high scoring games for that particular sport, but now that I have more knowledge about it, I don't as much. That's personally my opinion. The one exception is football. I just like seeing quarterbacks throwing a touchdown to the wide receivers so much in that game. Seeing like a Rams Chiefs style of a football game. I don't know why. I just do. But what is your opinion? Do you like the lower scoring games, or are you more of a fan of a like a 12-10 baseball game or what?
Well, the only Major League Baseball game I've ever been to was the Anaheim Angels versus the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2008 when I took my now ex-wife, down to Southern California for our honeymoon, and We got there a little bit late in the top of the third inning. It was 4-1 Angels, and then when we left, it was 13-4 Rays. So balls were leaving the yard. The Angels pretty much went through their entire bench that night trying to get through the game. So I don't mind high scoring games, but I'm really in favor of top notch pitching. I mean, when I growing up and still today, when I see a game with two marquee pitchers going at it, I get excited because I'm like, oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of the ball's going to be put in place, and there's going to be a lot of good defense, and there's probably going to be a lot of strikeouts, and I like it because the game goes fast that way. When you have a lot of 1, 2, 3 innings, a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of walks. Pitchers have excellent control. They're not hitting batters. They're not walking people. So I really love the low scoring, fast paced games. So I kind of grew up on the St. Louis Cardinals, where it was basically get them on, get them over, get them in, and in the '80s they were always winning like 3-2 ball games, nonstop, and I loved it. I loved it. It was small ball. I mean, I do love to see home runs. I do love to see power hitting. But yeah, I kind of grew up on that with the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals, is kind of playing small ball. Didn't have a lot of sluggers in their lineup, so they, um, had to do what they could. They laid down a lot of bunts, tried to steal, tried to do some hit and runs and stuff. Because I mean, 3 runs in a game was a lot, back then. So that's kind of what I was used to in that era before balls started leaving the yard left and right. So yeah, I really get really excited when I see a pitching duel. I really love it.
Yeah, yeah. I especially love the reaction to those guys out there in the fans. Um, it's like a one. The game ends in like a 1-0 game, and you're the only person out there to catch a home run out there in the booth. So I definitely love that action reaction sometimes.
Yeah, when Jack Morris was standing out there after 10 innings in the World Series in a 1-0 game against the Atlanta Braves in, in the World Series. I mean, that was phenomenal for him to go the distance, pitching extra innings, and basically the fans, the stadium was packed, and everybody was just all excited over one run. That's all they needed, one run. And it wasn't a very long game, but it was a hard fought game. 1-0. I mean, that was about as good as it gets.
Um, so to go on to um, this next game here, the Atlanta Braves they won today against the Washington Nationals 3-2. Um, now, now in this game, they're still dealing with a lot of injuries. The Atlanta Braves are. That's just how it is. However, I keep I hate to beat on a dead horse here, but Ronald Acuna has been on fire. He scored a home run in this game. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, when it comes to Ronald Acuna, I think that he's probably going to be the best player in baseball within the
Oh
next few
yeah.
seasons. I think that he's going to bypass Mike Trout. Mike Trout's still going to be an excellent baseball player, but I think that he's going to be unseated within the next few seasons. And I think that Ronald Acuna is going to be the top dog in all of baseball within the next few seasons. Um, and that says a lot because Mike Trout has held that position for many years as being the lead dog. Um, the best
Ooh.
considered baseball player. So yeah, the Braves are having a pretty decent last 10 games. I think they're like about 6-4 or so over the last 10 games. They're not playing terrible, but like you said, Nate, they have had some injury issues. That's hard to overcome. We all know what it's like when our favorite teams have injury issues. I know that Ray is a Atlanta Braves fan. He's not here with us right now, but I'm sure that he's pleased that they're playing a little bit better baseball. But yeah, the Braves, they're fighting hard. I think that they're going to find their way. I think it's just going to come a little bit later in the season. I think that this is only one game, but I think that if they can get people back off the injured list and get everybody fairly healthy again, I think that you're going to see a lot better baseball out of the Braves, especially if they can get their pitching on track.
Now there's one last game of the night, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Now I know that I'm keeping track of a live game, but it's a live game, so this game hasn't happened yet. The hasn't ended yet, I should say. The Marlins, they beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 3-1 today. While I update the score here, what are your thoughts on this game?
The Marlins win today?
Yeah, it was Diamondbacks 3-1.
Oh, it's not that surprising. Like I said earlier, the Marlins do have some pretty good depth with their pitching. They have some very incredible young talent on the mound. They just had a little bit better pitching than the Diamondbacks. It was exciting to see kind of a resurgence in the Diamondbacks with Madison Bumgarner. We didn't expect to see him come back to his 2012, status and everything. So that was exciting to see for a few games there. His brilliance on the mound. Yeah, the Marlins, they just outpitched the Diamondbacks, and they have the arms to do it. That's one of the bright spots in their organization. They don't have a lot of name brand players right now, but they do have some elite pitching prospects.
Score update here is now 3-3. Angels and Rays are tied at the top of the 8th. So, to go on to probably my favorite topic of tonight, top five list of the I want to see the last 10 games. We'll go like you go 5, I go 5, and then we'll continue all the way down to 1.
Okay. Okay, in the 5 hole, I've got the Yankees in the 5 hole. I think they went 7-3 over the last 10 games. They're playing pretty good baseball. They're getting some really good help behind the plate right now with their new catcher that they picked up that's been playing in place of Sanchez. And I think that he may take over the role because he seems to be a lot better behind the plate defensively than Sanchez. Sanchez has a better bat, but Hayagashiki, I think his name is pronounced, he's proven to be an excellent defender behind the plate. So, the Yankees, the Yankees are still kind of dealing with some injuries off and on here and everything, but I got them in my 5 hole. They've went 7-3. Most of the teams that I have on here went 7-3, but I probably have them in my 5th spot out of the 7-3 teams.
All right, so for my number 5, I'm gonna go in the same division. I gotta go with the Toronto Blue Jays, also a 7-3 team. They've been doing really, really well. The Toronto, however, they have a split series against the Athletics. They swept the Braves. Split against the Nationals. They did really well against the Rays. They won the series 2-1. Phenomenal baseball from them. All right, so what's your number 4?
Well, I'm gonna have to go with who you just mentioned, the Blue Jays.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, they're also like you said, they also went 7-3, getting some really good play from the young studs out there, and everything. So Marcus Semien seems to be a really good pickup from the A's. He's really giving them a big boost. So yeah, I got Toronto in the 4 hole. So both the Yankees and the Toronto for me in the 4 and 5 holes, sitting at 7-3 for this week and a half.
That's kind of funny because the team that I have for my number 4 is the team that you just mentioned, the New York Yankees. Now, I get it that they lost today against the Houston Astros, but again, they've been on fire. You're talking about a team that turned themselves around after that Cleveland Indians game where they won like 6-3. It was the first time in in that team that year, which was about 3 to 4 weeks in, where the New York Yankees have scored 3 or more runs in the same inning. They have not done that. They have not done that since until that Cleveland Indians game where they won 6-3. So what is your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is going to be my team, the St. Louis Cardinals, starting to put it together. They're also 7-3 for this week. Now they've went from the bottom of the pack to the lead dogs in the Central by just a game and a half or 2 games above the Brewers, who are kind of on a slide right now. So I got St. Louis. They lost today, but overall they went 7-3 over their last 10. They're getting some pretty good hits. Arenado and Goldschmidt are both hitting some serious bombs out there, so they're getting some pretty good power. Matt Carpenter, um, excellent player several years ago, MVP candidate a few years ago. Now he's coming off the bench, but he's gotten some big home runs coming in and pinch hitting and coming in late in games, to provide a little bit of defense. So that's good to see Carp getting out there and still getting some playing time and being effective. So I got my Cardinals in the 3 hole.
So I'm going with my team here at the 3 hole because, I probably think you have this team. You have the flipped. You have it flipped for me because I have the St. Louis Cardinals as my number 2.
Yeah, I do. I have Texas in the 2 hole.
Yeah.
Because I have them in the 2 hole because it's a lot more impressive and surprising. It's not something that I was expecting out of them. So that's why I have them leapfrogging my Cardinals.
True. True. But then they go around and the Twins had not been doing really well. And I get it that we won that series, but 2 of those games were extra innings. So, which is why I put the Cardinals over.
Okay.
So that's my number 3 and number 2. And you talked about your number 3 and your number 2.
Right.
So why don't you go ahead and talk about your number 1?
Well, I'm assuming that we both have the same number 1, but
Yeah,
I may be
you probably
wrong.
do.
We got the Cleveland Indians. They're the only team that went 8-2 over the span of 10 games. But aside from the 8-2, they're just playing lights out baseball, playing fantastic defense. They're getting excellent pitching out of their young pitching staff. Terry Francona is probably going to be manager of the year this year. The way that he's going, keeping this team going, considering that they've lost a lot of key players from last season. So they're right in the thick of things, and 8-2 over their last 10. That's really good for a franchise that wasn't really expected to do a whole lot this season in the Central, and they're keeping up pretty good.
Oh yeah. So that goes from one top 5 list. Now we're actually going to be talking about another top 5 list. Honestly, for me, um, might be one of the hardest lists that I had to come up with because it is the top 5 Pittsburgh Pirates pitchers of all time. So, but it's the Pirates who have been doing really well. So, I want you to go with your list on this.
All right. I don't know about you, Nate, but I had to go way, way back on most of these people. I mean, I'm talking way, way back. Okay. So in the 5-hole, I have a guy that went by probably one of the best baseball names I've ever heard, Pud Galvin. Have you ever heard of Pud Galvin?
Yeah, actually. Okay, well, outside of studying this, yes, I have.
Yeah. So, he went into the Hall of Fame later on. I think he was deceased by the time he got elected into the Hall of Fame. But Pud Galvin, he had an overall record of 365 and 310. So I think between all the Pittsburgh franchises, if you're going with the Alleghenies, the Pirates, whoever else they had in there in the Baseball Alliance, back then, he won about 100. He won 126 games for all those Pittsburgh franchises. So he lost 110 of those games, but he threw 2 no hitters in his career, and I think he threw a no hitter in that year that you said that everybody, the year that they had the most no hitters in history. I think What do you say, 1898 or something like that?
No, it was 1884. Well, it was. I thought it was 1898, but it's actually 1884.
Okay. Well, I don't think he got one in 1884, but he pitched a couple no hitters. So yeah, 365 wins. He was pretty solid presence on the mound. Um, he played for several different teams, but yeah, he made his presence known when he was with the Pirates. Um, then number 4, I've got a guy named Sam Lever who played from 1868 to 19. Let's see. I want to say 1910 or so, and he won 151 games and 59 losses for him. And in 1903, he recorded 25 wins and 7 losses and had an ERA of 2.06. So he, like I said, we're going way back on this list. I don't know if you have him on your list, but yeah, we're going back all the way to the mid 1800s.
Hey, I just want to say this. The latest one on my list is from the 1950s.
Yeah. So Sam Lever, definitely one of the top starters back in the day, in the early 1900s when the Pirates were extremely successful, and won several World Series back in the early 1900s. Wilbur Cooper is my number 3. He played from 1912 to 24 over there for him, and I think he went 24 and 15 in 1920. He kind of had a rambunctious lifestyle, and they had a pretty religious manager at the time. And so he was left off the World Series roster because of his rambunctiousness, I guess. Not a word that we throw out a lot in 2021. Rambunctious. I don't know what all he was doing. Maybe he liked a sip of whiskey or something back then. But yeah, 200. He won 202 wins for him. Unfortunate that he got left off the World Series roster, but he was an excellent pitcher back in the day for him. And then we have number 2, Bob Friend. Bob Friend was one of those guys that had the misfortune of playing on some pretty miserable teams. He is one of the few pitchers to ever record over 200 losses without gaining 200 wins. So he played on some pretty subpar teams within the Pirates organization. But he went 14-9 in 1955. He had 16 plus wins for 8 straight years. He had 22 victories in 1958. And an interesting fact is, guess whose first hit? Guess what legendary player's first hit was off of Bob Friend?
What?
Pete Rose.
Really?
Pete Rose's first hit was off of Bob Friend in 1963. Yeah. Yeah, there he is. So that's an interesting fact for you now.
I did not know that.
And then, of course, we got the Babe. And I'm not talking about Babe Ruth. I'm talking about Babe Adams. We've all heard of Babe Adams, haven't we? 1907, 1909 to 1916, and 1918 to 1926. He had an almost 7 ERA in 1907.
And he's your number 1. I'm kidding.
Huh?
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was joking around. You said you had almost 7 ERA, and like that's your number 1.
Yeah. Well, he returned in 09. He made 12 starts out of 25 appearances. He went 12-3 with a 1.11 ERA in 2009 or 1909. I'm sorry, when they won the World Series against the Tigers, and he went 3-0 in the 1909 World Series. So he definitely had the hot hand after a dismal start to his career in 1907. And so he won the World Series in 1909, and then he was still on the team in 1925 and won a second World Series with them. So that's who I have for my top 5.
So for my top 5, we're gonna go number 5 and guy that pitched in 20s and 30s, Ray Creamer. A Pacific Coast ace throughout the 20s. It was enough for the Pirates to bring in a 31-year-old rookie in 1924. He had his 74-32 record over his first 4 years on his way to the career major league record of 143-85. He won ERA crowns in back-to-back seasons, and twice won 20 games. So number 4, I'm going with Deacon Felipe. He pitched from 1900 to 1911. Felipe was part of the mass migration, actually, from Louisville to Pittsburgh after the Colonials folded in 1899. Just a little bit of history for you. And made an immediate impact for the Pirates. So winning games in each of his first 4 years with the Bucks, part of the impressive career resume in which he never had a losing record, finishing with a lifetime of 189 to 109. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Wilbur Cooper. Pitched from 1912 to 1924. Number 2, gotta go with Bob Fiend, 1951 to 1966. And number 1, Dave Adams, I mean, yeah, I get that he has 7 ERA, but even I had him on my list.
I'm telling you, we had to go way back for these, didn't we?
Yeah, latest was like in the 50s.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
so that just goes to show that over the years, the Pirates really haven't put out a whole lot. You know,
yeah,
if these guys are still standing in the late 1800s to early 1900s, you know, and they're still in the top 5, you know, they just haven't had a lot to show for themselves for top pitching.
next week we cover the last team in the division, and then we move on to the NL West to talk. Probably some Dodgers. We'll cover Dodgers first in that division. They probably have all their top 5 pitchers just in this year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm sure that Oral Hershiser or Fernando is going to be in there at some point. Maybe.
True. Yeah, true. Any final thoughts before it gets close?
I don't have any thoughts. You know, right now I'm riding high, just like you are, with 7-3 over the last 10 games. As we know in baseball, it's just one of those beautiful sports where we could be 7-3 one week and 3-7 the next. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it's happening, because it's pretty unpredictable this year. But you can take it to the bank that we're going to have several more no hitters this year, Nate.
Yeah. Well, right now we're currently sitting at 6-3 Rays. I don't have any final thoughts as well. So this has been Nate and Ray signing out, and see you guys next Thursday.